Hi, am I speaking with Michael?
Yes.
Hi, Michael. This is Scott with. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. Hope this is a good time to speak just for a minute.
Okay.
Thank you. Actually, Michael, I'm looking to speak with you in reference to software development and staff augmentation services. So, in a nutshell, I represent a company called, and we have 400 plus skilled developers with an average experience of more than 7 to 8 years. So I was wondering if you have any need of any, developer or engineer. Where we could focus and showcase our capabilities to you.
I currently have all the software developers I need right now.
Okay. So you have your in-house team of developers, or you are working with some another vendors?
I have an outsourced software development agency.
Okay, okay. So Michael, I understand you may not have a requirement right now, but is there any chance of connecting for a quick call? I believe we can add value to your business, to be honest. So that is only the reason I'm just looking for an introductory meeting.
I'm very happy with the firm that worked with.
Okay. Actually, I'm not looking for immediate business. It will be just an introductory call.
I don't want to waste your time. It really wouldn't make any sense. There's no reason for me to change.
Few of our customers, for example, you have some certain need of niche developer. At the time, we can come into the picture and we can help you. So that is only the reason I'm looking for an introductory meeting. Nothing
Yeah,
else.
I understand. Why don't you send me an email?
So you can expect my email in next 15 minutes. I'm just drafting an email and I will be sending to you.
Okay.
Okay, great. And if you
Thanks a
have
lot.
any requirement or if you are available for a quick call, please revert me back. It would be
Okay.
great help to me.
All
Thank you
right.
so much
Bye.
for your valuable time. Have a great weekend ahead.
You too. Bye.
All right, so let's go through that call in a little bit more detail. And so his purpose for the call was he wanted to speak with me in reference to software development and staff augmentation, and they talked a little bit about his firm. Now, I just want to point out that if you've watched any of our other videos, we break down your sales script and sales message into two categories. Either you're a product selling salesperson or you're a consultative salesperson. This was a clear example of a product selling sales pitch or sales script. He opened with, "This is who I work for. This is some details about us. Do you need what I sell?" And he was trying to drive towards talking me into needing what he sold. Now, we recommend going into a more consultative direction. I have other videos I'll link in the description that goes into detail on the differences with these and how to create your consultative selling sales script. And the recommended cold call script I provide at the end will be a consultative selling script. So it'll align with what's on the right side there. But let's get back to his call. He did progress to ask me a qualifying question, which was, "I wonder if you have a need for a developer or engineer." This is a decent question. If he sells development services and developers and engineers, at some point, it makes sense for him to ask if I have a general need. There are other questions he could have asked before this, and I will show you some of those. Then that question led to me giving the first objection, which was, "Well, we have all the developers we need right now." And by the way, this is a very common place to end up if you have a product selling sales pitch. If your sales pitch is, "This is what I sell. Do you need what I sell?" In fact, the odds that you time that call or that email perfectly so that you're talking to them at the exact time when they need what you sell is very low. So it's very likely for you to end up in a place where you're saying, "I sell this," and they're saying, "I don't need that right now," which is what I basically said to him. "We have all the developers we need right now." He does actually reply to this in a decent way, which he asks me a current state question. And he asks, "So you have an in-house team of developers or you're working with someone else?" This is a great question to ask. And it's a decent question to ask dealing with that objection. There are also other current state questions he could have asked at this time. I'll show you a whole list of current state questions and when he could ask those in the recommended cold call script. At some point there in the middle, he does kind of start to get to his value proposition. And his value proposition was, "We can add value to your business, to be honest." And then he kind of stopped there. Well, that's a good direction to go in terms of trying to communicate to me the value he has to offer, but he shouldn't stop there. There's obviously tons of value that he can offer me, and he could have been more clear about that. And instead of just saying, we have value to offer. And I'm being really honest when I say that. In the recommended cold call script, I'll list out some of the different ways that he can help and the different value propositions that he could have used. Then we lead to objection number 2, which is basically I was saying we're happy with our current provider. And this is a very common objection. It can come in different ways, which is a lot of ways it can sound like we already use someone today. We're not looking at making any changes. So those are all versions of we're happy with who we have or we already have something today. He responds to this in a decent way, which is he says, I'm not looking for immediate business. I just want an introductory call. So what he's basically doing is he's saying, I'm not looking to sell you anything today. I just want to keep talking and talk to you in more detail, which is a good way to respond to objections. Because if you think of the first time you talk to someone as being that first interaction, and really the end of the process is them purchasing from you, what we can often do is get trapped in this mindset where we're focused on the purchase. And let me give you an example. So when someone says, I'm not interested, then your natural instinct is to try to say something to make them interested. Or if someone says, we already use someone today, your natural instinct is to try to talk them into switching over to you. That is focusing more on the purchase. But the reality is that there's a lot of steps between that first interaction and the prospect purchasing from you. For example, there's a more detailed conversation where you learn a little bit more about each other, and then an explanation on what you offer and how you can help. And then that might lead to, at some point, some sort of purchase. And by focusing more on the next step in the process, which is just a more detailed conversation, could be an appointment or a virtual meeting or a longer phone call, that's where you could focus. And that's how you can focus what you say in your objection responses. And that's basically what he did. And my advice there would be to resist that natural instinct on trying to sell the product and instead try to sell the meeting. And that's exactly what he did, where he said, listen, I'm not trying to sign you up today. I'm just looking to have an introductory call. Now, what I would say is that in this particular scenario, there are other ways that he could have responded to that objection. And I'll show that in the recommended cold call script. And then he could have used that, let's just have an introductory call, as the last fallback position. Another thing he did really well is at one point towards the end of the call, he said, listen, if you have a certain need for a niche developer, we can help with this. And this is a direction of, okay, you use someone today. I'm not trying to replace them, and I'm not trying to get you to stop doing business with them. I want to add to what you're already doing. And this is sort of an augment, not replace approach. And this is really good. This is something that can apply to a lot of salespeople, in that a lot of times when you're talking to a prospect, they're already using something in the area where you have something to offer. And if you can somehow augment and get that prospect to just purchase or use your service or product just a little bit, in addition to what they're already doing today, that's a great foot in the door. And maybe then you can expand and then eventually replace that other competitor. So let's get to the recommended cold call script that he could have used, starting out with an introduction. Hello, Michael. This is Tony from Company X. Have I caught you in the middle of anything? Try to establish the call there, make sure the person's not busy. Then jump to your value proposition. And so this is a value proposition that he could have used. He could have improved my speed of software development, improved the quality of code, augment my existing team, decrease my cost for software development. So those are the ways he can help. Instead of him just saying, I can add value to your business, to be honest, tell me these things. And he could do that at different points in the call. But certainly the very beginning of the call is a better place for him to add this. In his call where he said, this is what some details about my firm, how many people we have, how many years of experience, he could have replaced that with this. So reason for the call is we help businesses to improve the speed of their development and decrease their cost for software development. But I'm not sure if we can help you in that same way. And that's why I'm reaching out. And then jump to some pain questions. So if he helps to solve certain problems of mine, ask me some questions to see if I have problems that need to be fixed. If I could ask you real quick, how often do you have software development projects that are not progressing? How happy are you with the quality of code you currently have? Have you ever had a need for a specific developer with a particular skill set? How important is it to decrease costs? Then you could ask some current state questions. Do you currently have any projects? Are you using in-house or outsourced developers? So that's the question that he asked. Here are other current state questions. Current state questions are just questions that figure out what's going on in the particular area where you have something to offer. By the way, whether you ask pain questions or current state questions first could depend on who you're talking to, depend on what you sell, and you can mix and match them. But it's important to know what are your pain questions and what are your current state questions. Hopefully with our questions, we find a reason to talk more, and then we can close for the next step in our process, which is the conversation. But if our questions don't uncover any pain, then we can take a step back and just try to share some of the problems that we help to solve with the prospect, which is to say something like, oh, okay, well, a lot of businesses I work with, they often have this problem or this challenge or this problem or this concern. Are you concerned about any of those? And you're just looking for validation, like everything's perfect or there are some concerns. Then you're starting to head towards the close for talking more, the close for the appointment. And this is where you can start to talk more about you. By the way, this is the stuff that he talked about at the very beginning of the call. This is where we try to close with it, which is, oh, you know what? It might make sense for us to talk in more detail. The reason why is I'm with Company X and we provide software development and staff augmentation services. We do everything from custom app development, mobile app development, web design, web coding, whatever. Some ways we're different. This is some stuff that he included at the beginning of the call. We have over 400 developers with covering all different skills and competencies, 70, 80 years plus experience, whatever that means. And then right before you go for the close, you can share a name drop example just to establish a little bit more credibility and build a little bit more interest. We actually worked with a business similar to yours and helped to augment their existing team with developers that were very specific and experienced in niche areas. This helped them to improve the pace of their development projects and also get stalled projects going again. But Michael, I've called you out of the blue. I don't want to take any more of your time right now. I don't know if this is the best time to talk about this. Are you available for a brief call? I want to share some examples how we've helped other businesses, and then I'm just inserting the value proposition here again. So reinforce the ways that I can help the particular prospect. Are you available on Tuesday or Thursday morning, or are you available right now to continue discussing this? So that's an example of a call flow, and that's a consultative approach. I'm pretty confident that flow would have helped him. He still might not have closed me for an appointment, but it would help him overall. Now let's talk about those objections before we wrap up. So the main objection I gave him was we already used someone for that. And he asked me a current state question. Well, instead of asking a current state question, he could ask me a pain question. Try to figure out, is everything going great or is there something that needs to be improved? And you could respond to that by just saying, oh, great. Well, if I could ask you how, and then here are these are the same questions that are in the cold call script. And you could also ask current state questions, which is what he basically did, but there's other questions here. So I said, oh, we already have a development agency that we work with. We've been with them for a long time. Oh, great. How's everything going? When was the last time you considered other areas? How many projects do you have? And so there are some other current state questions. By the way, I just want to give a real example of how asking these questions could have helped him in this particular scenario, which is we actually do have a need for a niche software developer that our current agency firm does not have regarding development with Microsoft Outlook that we want to develop a plugin. And this is an open project. And by asking current state questions, he almost got there where I almost started to talk about it. He could have uncovered that new information by asking current state questions. Do you have any open projects that aren't moving forward because you don't have the specific skill set? And the honest answer to that for me would have been, yeah, we do need a Microsoft Outlook developer. Is that something you have? And he might have said, yes, we do have that. Okay, well, let's schedule a call to discuss that. And he could have moved forward. So just an example there of how those current state questions can really help you to not only keep the conversation going, but find a reason to talk more. Okay, that's about it. So hopefully that gives you some ideas for how to organize your own script and build your own script and improve your own sales efforts. If we've helped you in only one way, if you want to return that favor, very easy for you to do. Simply like, comment, share this video, subscribe to our channel. Any or all of those don't cost you anything and help us tremendously. So if you think that's interesting, but you still don't know what to do next, another option is you can buy our book, a book that I wrote called The Smart Sales System, Sell Smarter, Not Harder. And it is on Amazon. And here is a link to that. That's about it. Hopefully this was helpful to you. If you want more information on any of that or tips, ebooks, videos, just go to salescriptor.com, or you can contact us there if you have any questions. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching till the end of the video, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye.